Good morning. This is Dot Frank with the Bismarck-Mandan Homebuilders Association on a beautiful Friday morning for a free-for-all Friday with Super Talk 1270. Our friend Jim is at the boards, making sure we sound good and that everyone can hear us. And if you've got questions, feel free to call in today. I am excited to have a couple guests with us this morning. First and foremost, I'd like to introduce our upcoming president of the local Homebuilders Association, Shannon Reichenberg. Shannon works for Diversity Homes, has been on our board of directors, and is working his way up the ladder and will take over in 2017. So good morning, Shannon.
Good morning, Dot. It's scary when you put it that way.
Scary for who? You or me?
Both.
And I'd also like to introduce this morning's second guest, a good friend of mine as of recent, and I hope to have a long-lasting relationship and that he sticks with us for years to come as the new president of our Bismarck-Mandan Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Scott Meske. Good morning.
Morning, Dot.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's going great.
Long time no see.
We got great chamber weather today.
We have great chamber weather. Good day to open a business.
Yeah.
And if you are
absolutely.
opening a business or have a business that's open and you're in need of a ribbon cutting, which, you know, those are pretty fun to keep tabs on.
They are kind of fun. We do an awful lot of them, and there's a lot of different ways we promote the business and bring everybody to your front door, and a lot of social media and things like that.
Speaking of social media, Scott was taking selfies, groupie shots
I got a tweet
with all of
once.
us. He's got a tweet. So where should they follow you?
I am at BMCC _ Prez, P-R-E-S. BMCC _ Prez is my Twitter handle.
Perfect. And if you want to follow us, we are just simply BMHBA. Keeping it simple, Facebook and Twitter. This morning, we're going to talk about some exciting things. We've been super busy as an association, as had the Chamber of Commerce. And so we're going to talk about both of those organizations. First and foremost, though, Shannon, I'd like to hear from you. We came off of a big event, another successful Fall Parade of Homes. And you've got some interesting perspectives to share on the Parade of Homes, both from the board's angle and also serving on the Parade of Homes committee. So you see behind the scenes the work that goes into making this happen, but you participated as well as a builder with a featured house. So let us know, how this season's show went, what perhaps was different this year compared to years past, and, kind of the feedback that you received on the ground from participants and spectators.
Sure. Thank you. It was actually a really good parade for us this year. We had 33 homes, I believe, in the parade, which is a good fall parade. Quite a mix of price categories, so something for everybody. I don't know how many people came through yet. You probably have those numbers. I haven't seen those
They're
yet.
top secret at this point. Yes.
But the traffic, I think the traffic, just from my perspective of sitting in our house, was pretty heavy compared to maybe even in past falls. Just my perspective. Interesting trend this year. A lot of people are doing gray paint, white cabinets. We bucked the trend this time, and we had a lot of positive feedback that they were happy to see that we bucked the trend.
Yeah. So as far as bucking the trend, did you go with the wood and more of the tans and taupes, or what did you do to differentiate yourself from what you're seeing across the board right now?
Well, they used to call it Bismarck beige. Everybody painted their walls and ceilings beige. We didn't go beige, but we did do some tans and taupes, and then dark woodwork, or kind of a medium dark woodwork, and that really, a lot of people complimented that it felt warm and cozy. So.
Excellent, which is perfect timing as we're coming into fall season. It's something that you kind of look forward to and appreciate as the temperatures cool. When it comes to, what people were kind of excited to see or enamored with, the oohs and the ahs as they walked through your homes, what parts of the home elicited that kind of response? Is it still kitchen and baths that are real popular?
Kitchen and bath are probably the most popular. Our friends at Open Road Honda staged a couple houses during the parade, and so that was big for the guys to come see. And
okay, so
sitting in the big
help
garage.
me out.
Are we talking like man caves here?
Yeah, so we think of staging, I'm thinking of sofas and, the coffee tables and coffee table books and floral arrangements. Open Road Honda doesn't seem to carry any of that stuff.
No, but they do carry motorcycles and snow blowers and stuff that belongs in a garage. And so we got quite a few positive comments. The guys, you'd hear them come out of the garage and say, "Oh, geez, you got to go out to the garage. This is awesome out here." So, but the kitchen and bathrooms, custom tile showers, that still is probably where people the details that people appreciate the most.
Yeah, absolutely. And Scott, from your perspective, you came from the Western market in our state, and I'm sure that you see some similar trends when you go across North Dakota when it comes to new home design and decor. But what struck you coming into this housing market compared to what you experienced out in Williston?
I think one of the things I've been here for a little over 5 months. I think it's the diversity. I think there's so many choices, whether it's building a home or opening a business or location. There just seems diversity in our market here in the Bismarck-Mandan market. That's pretty cool. And I hear that, too, from my staff. I hear it from other people I'm with. They love the choices. So I think that for you to be able to distinguish yourself as a business, as a builder, is really important.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that was exciting, you talked about the just diversity of home prices and home styles on the parade. It was quite interesting to see some of those styles and how we're seeing, not only different layouts and features and accommodations, but, for instance, we had some townhomes or twin homes that were part of this parade as well. I mean, are you seeing people kind of following what the national trend is towards more of a community-driven neighborhood, the smaller footprint that we seem to hear coming out of the Bismarck mayoral office in particular?
Absolutely. As people travel throughout the country and they see those type of communities, and people are, a lot more connected now with social media and whatnot. So, yeah, they're wanting to see that here.
Absolutely. So we are coming up on a break. We are with Shannon Reichenberg, our upcoming president of the Bismarck-Mandan Homebuilders Association, and Mr. Scott Meske from the Bismarck-Mandan Chamber of Commerce talking Parade of Homes. When we get back, we're going to talk about some building stats. Not surprisingly, we are a very healthy community in that regard. Let's find out what it means from a business perspective. Stay tuned. Right now, 44.
Weekends with Twilight Zone Radio on Super Talk 1270.
Welcome back. This is Dot Frank with the Bismarck-Mandan Home Builders Association on a wonderful free-for-all Friday. Just listen to that forecast. Amazing. If you have a chance to get outside, please do so.
Chamber weather.
Chamber weather. That means you get out, you drive around, you network, right, Scott?
Absolutely. You don't stay inside.
Don't stay inside. Business can be held anywhere, particularly now with access to electronics and technology. Let's say you wanted to go golfing this afternoon.
What?
I don't know. Just saying.
What?
You are listening to a Free For All Friday with the Bismarck-Mandan Home Builders. I am happy to have you back. And if you're just joining us, thank you. We've got two special guests with us this morning. We've got Shannon Reichenberg, who is our incoming president of the association. He'll be inaugurated shortly, taking over the reins in 2017. Good morning again.
Yes, good morning.
Yes. And we also have the president of the Bismarck-Mandan Chamber of Commerce, my friend Scott. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, Dot.
Well, we just got off talking about our big event, one of two that we host every year, Fall Parade of Homes, and it'll be followed by the spring sooner than we know it. But we have a special event that we're picking up. We've decided to kind of resurrect this annual favorite from the Bismarck-Mandan area. Now, they didn't host it last year, Scott, but we are going to bring it back in full force. Shannon, do you want to reveal for the first time publicly what we're going to be doing?
Yes. So the Bismarck-Mandan Symphony has always done the holiday home walk. In the past couple of years, last year they didn't have one, but in the past couple of years, it's the interest has kind of waned. Together we're going to put that back on. November 20th, I believe, is the date, noon to 5. It's going to be different than the past just because we're going to open it up to us, the builders, and put our new homes in, even some personal homes.
Nice.
Yeah. So, historically what would happen with this holiday home walk, and I recall as a young child going through the houses with my mother, oohing and ahhing, not only on the homes, because they were some fabulous homes that were put on display, but the decor, because what the symphony would do is they would connect these homeowners with different retailers, interior designers, or floral companies in town to deck the halls literally top to bottom with holiday decor. And so we're going to replicate that, but it's going to include our builders. So locally built homes, beautifully staged for people to come through. And what's so amazing about this event in particular is it's not only an opportunity for you to get out, in November to experience, the holiday season and all the joy that it brings, but to shake hands yet again with the folks that are creating housing in our communities, all the while supporting a wonderful group, which is the Bismarck-Mandan Symphony Youth Orchestra.
Nice.
So
Nice.
proceeds will benefit them, and there is a need. I don't know, Shannon, if you want to kind of share what we heard from their director, Tony, when it comes to, getting youth to participate. And one of the biggest hurdles when it comes to orchestra is
Buying the instruments.
Yep. Yeah, so the mother of a new trumpet player. I know what
Congratulations,
a trumpet,
by the way.
and a trumpet, by the way, is a fairly common instrument, right? There's nothing too sophisticated, I would think, about the trumpet. But when you get into cellos and when you get into violins, I can only imagine the cost that comes with those instruments.
Right. Excuse me. Yeah, it's just listening to the people from the symphony the other day. It is quite the expense, and some of these parents can't afford to, and so this gives these kids the opportunity to play the instrument.
Yeah, so we have a tremendous opportunity, folks out there, to participate in getting out and viewing these homes, seeing what the latest and greatest in holiday decor is, as well as supporting youth in our area through the orchestra by attending this event. It's one day only, which is different from our Parade of Homes. So, as a participant in Parades of Homes, how do you feel about this event in particular and your option as a builder to be a part of this holiday home walk?
Well, first and foremost, I think what sold us on it was it's for the kids. That's the big thing. But as a builder, it gives us an opportunity one more time showcase our homes. And the cool thing about it is now they're all Christmas decoration, and everybody's in the spirit. So, something that we haven't mentioned is they're actually going to have musicians in some of the homes playing while they're coming through. So
Youth musicians?
Yep.
That's
musicians.
awesome.
So I'm
That
looking
is very
forward to
cool.
that.
Yeah, so an excellent opportunity. We're excited. We'll have details coming soon online at bmhba.com. I know ticket sales are starting early. This is one event, unlike the Parade of Homes where you buy tickets the day of, you'll be able to pre-purchase tickets for this event through the Symphony's box office, which is really neat. So you can go down to the Bell and buy tickets through the box office, or you can go online to the Symphony's website and pre-purchase tickets that way. So
The other thing that's kind of exciting is when we first started talking about this was like, I don't know, are we going to get many homes in it? And I think already we've got at least 9 committed, so that's pretty good. In the last couple of years, they've had 2, 3.
yeah. Yep. So a real great opportunity to get out. So make sure you follow that, participate, and get excited about coming up and spending November 20th with us. So that's what we've got going on. In addition to that, we are going to have our big awards mixer. Again, you referenced attendance being pretty steady and strong during our Fall Parade of Homes. We don't have the exact number out. We have it, but we're holding on tight to that information because we have an event called our Fall Awards Mixer, where we reveal to the participating builders and all of our members what that turnout was. They, with bated breath, wait for us to make that announcement, along with the winners, because every year we award the People's Choice. So those participants who got out and looked at the houses have an opportunity to vote for their favorites, and we provide recognition and awards to those builders who receive that status.
It's interesting that the president doesn't even have privy to those numbers.
Yeah, isn't it? Huh.
You'd be surprised what we keep until the last minute. So those are our events, but equally busy is the Chamber of Commerce, and you have recently come off some really exciting events. During break, you were talking about one, a shot in the dark, which I was sharing with you. To me, sounds a little scary that you've got clubs and balls that you're shooting at night.
Yes. Yeah. That was.
How did it go?
So that was an event that the staff kind of cooked up almost a year ago. And they had looked upon, and I think when a chamber or when any organization looks to add a new event, we have to have a reason, and we also have to have a target market. And who are we reaching? Are we helping our members by putting this effort together? And the Shot in the Dark, just like we have a clay shoot, it reaches different membership for us. So that's kind of neat. But it was here in Mandan Municipal, and everybody got a couple of glow-in-the-dark balls. Now, they're not Titleist Pro V1s that, some folks play with. But they glow in the dark. They have different colors. And we split up, and people decorated their carts. A lot of the sponsors, hole sponsors, decorated their carts. And it was only 9 holes, thank goodness. And, of course, the weather was, luckily, it was perfect that night. We had overwhelming response. I mean, I stood on, I like to see everybody coming through one of my events. I'm still kind of the new guy in town, so I just stayed at one hole and played with everybody that came through. And I'd look over on the golf course, I see these balls flying, in the air. It's like, wow, was that a meteor? No, it was a golf ball. But we just received, we had such absolutely fantastic cooperation and help from our sponsors and partners, but also Mandan Municipal. They did a great job for us. And we've already re-upped for next year. So that'll be the second week of September next year. So
exciting stuff.
It's
really always a gamble when you introduce a new event, which, we're taking that risk with the Holiday Home Walk, and you did with the Shot in the Dark.
Yep.
But, the one thing that I think is so exciting about associations and working groups in our community is that we are really fearless. And I think that's what leads to the success of our community. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think just the communication and cooperation we have between the groups, a lot of the big business groups, we get together quite often just to share, what are we doing? Because a lot of times their members are our members, or their members, we're all interconnected, and we stay on that level of just cooperating. And so I'm looking actually forward to your award mixer coming up in a couple weeks.
Yes. So. And speaking of cooperation, one thing that we're cooperating on right now is the work that's involved with identifying the needs for growth in this community, because we're all impacted, us on a residential level, you on a business level.
Absolutely.
And that's where you see a lot of cross collaboration. In fact, Shannon has participated in those meetings that have been held amongst your association, the Realtors, CVB and BMDA, when it comes to growth in our communities and how we address it with the increasing costs that has an impact on all of us. So we talk about permits regularly from our association's perspective. Bismarck is well ahead of where they were last year permit-wise. Just had a meeting with Mandan, Morton, Burley, and Lincoln, and it sounds like they're going to catch up to be at or above where they were last year. That's from a residential perspective, so very, very healthy and strong market.
Yeah,
what is it like coming from the business community's perspective? What are your members saying?
Yeah, I think they're excited about again, when I look at where I came from, what's strong here is the diversity and the growth, but yet there's still opportunities. And so I actually just had a conversation with Bismarck Airport folks, and found out that Bismarck Airport is the only airport in the state in the last 2 years that has added an airline and added 2 direct flights and continues to grow at a 4 to 7% range. So every month. So growth is here. We're attracting people here. And so I think those opportunities, we just have to let everybody know about it.
Yes, some good things happening in our community. Well, we're coming up on a break. It's crazy how fast time flies when you're having fun with such fabulous guests. You're listening to Super Talk 1270's Free For All Friday with the Bismarck-Mandan Homebuilders Association. Stick with us. More when we return. Right now, 44.
The home for ABC News at the top of the hour is Super Talk 1270.
Good morning and welcome back. This is Dot Frank with the Bismarck-Mandan Homebuilders Association. It is Friday, TGIF, right?
Right.
Guys?
Absolutely. Finally.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
Well, we have a full studio this morning. Joining me, if you haven't listened previously, if you're just joining us, or just want a reminder of who you're hearing on air this morning, we've got Shannon Reichenberg, who is our Vice President of the Bismarck-Mandan Homebuilders Association, works with Diversity Homes, is very active with our association, not only as a board member, but serving on plenty of committees, which we appreciate. We can always count on Shannon, including this morning, to come on air. We also have a good...
I got to learn to say no.
No, you're good.
We also have a good friend from the Chamber of Commerce, new president, Scott Meske. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning.
Well, we've been talking about a lot of things, not only what our association does, but what the Chamber does for the local community. Now I think it's time to turn and talk about the communities in general. And you have annually hosted an event that a lot of local businesses and associations and groups like ours appreciate, and that is the State of the City's Address. And so, you hear about the State of the Union.
Yeah.
This This is the state of our local community. And what happens is you invite in the mayors of both Bismarck and Mandan to talk about what happened this past year and what they anticipate moving ahead. How is that coming along, and what are your expectations? Is it a crazy year?
It is a crazy year.
Is that having an impact? What are you anticipating, and what do you look forward to at this year's event?
Yeah, I think we've touched base with both mayors and their offices, and we're looking forward to doing this again. And the chamber just kind of provides a forum for the elected officials to stand up on a podium in front of some folks and say, "Here's what we're doing." I know there's a lot of other maybe mayors or communities around the country that do their own state of the city at maybe a city council meeting or whatever. We do it through a little bigger event, and having two communities, we give a chance for everybody to hear what's going on. So we're excited. It's November 8th, which is Election Day. So go out and vote at 7 a.m. and then come to the State of the City. So no, we've got great response. Looking forward to hearing what's going on in our communities.
And we shared the good news that we have access to. We're privy to those statistics, like most people, when it comes to building permits. Very healthy from the new construction's perspective, and you shared, how our business growth is going. Unemployment rates continue to be very low. An attractive time to start and to be able to maintain businesses. From the city's perspective, though, what we're hearing coming out of their offices is some real concern when it comes to budgetary constraints or restraints, lack of federal funding, a slowing down of the state funding they're accustomed to. What do you think the mood and the tone is going to be for this year's State of the City's address?
I think, I don't know. Just in general, I think everybody here in North Dakota is probably understanding we're at a different economic point than we were a year ago or 2 or 3 years ago. So hopefully everybody's expectations are kind of tempered a little bit, but yet there's still those basic services that communities are expected, police, fire, infrastructure, some basic things. So, but I think it's going to be moderated a little bit. I don't think there's going to be a lot of hope and expectation of, I hope we get this year. And I've even heard that from the state level and state legislators and officials that said, it's going to be more of a policy year rather than a budgetary year. So we're looking, let's say we're managing our expectations right now.
Excellent. And, from your perspective, Shannon, what are you hoping as someone who, is in the business world and, is out there working with individuals who are looking to make Bismarck-Mandan home or move up in the situation that they have? What message do you hope to receive from the leaders of the Bismarck and Mandan communities?
Well, I think it's just important to understand it's not doom and gloom. I mean, things are still really good here. I just told somebody the other day, we're going 100 miles an hour before. We're going 75 now. So, I mean, it seems slow, but it's not doom and gloom. And I just hope that we hear that, they're working on those things. They're working on and making sure that message is delivered.
Yeah, and if I can just, it's really important too, and I think from a chamber standpoint, one of our basic tenets is being advocates for the business community and local, state, and federal levels is trying to create those policies that encourage and foster a strong economic environment. So that Shannon's business has the ability to grow if and when it needs to on its own, that we don't try to force growth, but there is definitely not doom and gloom out there. I can tell you, even I visited the West here just a few days ago, and there's a lot of optimism that, it's time that we do this. So it's really important at the state and local level that we have policies and we have procedures that encourage growth for businesses like Shannon's.
Absolutely. One thing that I think is kind of interesting, too, is when it comes to, what our expectations are of our leadership and what we hope they communicate to us is that optimism in the fact that, we are in a very still enviable position compared to most communities. But what I think is so interesting, and I think that the Chamber does this exceptionally well through one event in particular, and that's Celebrate Bismarck-Mandan. Too often we're so caught up in what we want that we forget to stop and see what we already have.
And what we've done. I mean, those small businesses, that was my first really big event. We had like 430 people there. I don't think it's just because we fed them, but I think that helped. I was so impressed. People, I'm still getting comments. But we recognize small businesses entrepreneurs. And I don't know, Dot, if you saw this news release. It just came out maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I don't know, that Bismarck-Mandan region by goodcall.com, which is a website that does statistics and demographics, we're the number 2 region in the country for women entrepreneurs out of 350. Oh, and by the way, last year, yes, we were ranked. We were 37th. So something's going on here. So I do think the optimism that, people taking risks, it's like, yeah, I can do that here. And you're going to get the support from organizations and from the community as well.
One thing I think is kind of interesting, I'd like to spend, we've got about 5 more minutes before our next break, talking about is, one of the challenges that we have recognized that we face as an association, and I think it's been echoed by other associations across the community, is spreading that message that there is a lot going on in this community, very positive and productive and exciting. But what seems to happen, and I think this is endemic across the country, is that, salacious activity and news sells. And so we hear about the closures and the slowdowns and the, oh my goodness, the skies are falling. And it kind of overshadows, it's kind of like you need so many rights to overcome a wrong. How can we begin to change that? And is that something that is the new norm, I guess?
Boy, I don't know. I mean, messaging. So I know BMDA hired a company to do a target industry study that was just released maybe a month and a half ago. And it identified, that we're doing all the right things and we have a lot of the right industries here. But messaging might be one thing we could improve upon. And so, I don't have an answer for that. But, the fact that we just announced an indoor football league coming here. We just unveiled the Bismarck Larks last night. We've got people coming here, and what can we do? And Laughing Sun just announcing their expansion in Mandan. I mean, come on, stuff's happening. So the question is, how do we sell that? How do we tell that?
Absolutely. And how do you feel? I mean, Shannon, and probably the perspective that you could bring, that really kind of drives this home for our listeners in particular, is there's always that kind of apprehension and kind of concern, when it comes to how well we're doing. But I'm sure that, your clients are put in that position all the time where, I don't know if I want to make the decision to become a homeowner or to buy this house, despite the fact that you can tell them interest rates are incredible. Home prices continue to appreciate. I mean, you face that same thing, a disconnect between reality and perception.
Right. You make a really good point on the interest rates, and that's something that I talk about every single day. I mean, if home prices do come down, building costs do come down, and interest rates go up, but we haven't moved. So now is actually the time to purchase just because of the interest rates. Your home is an appreciating asset. It's something that's always going to appreciate. Now you might not have the overinflated values, but that's an asset. So that's a message that we try to deliver all the time. And
do you feel that the facts don't impact people's decisions as much as they used to because they're competing with the power of social media and the maybe the false impressions received through referrals or Twitter feeds and Facebook updates, social status posts?
Yeah, I don't know about that. It's just continual messaging that great things are going on here. Come and take a look. Whether you're a business or a millennial, a lot of my staff is in that age category. They've quote come back, right? Wherever they went to school, first job, they're back and they're going, wow, this is really different than what I remember. And I'm hearing that from a lot of people.
I think more than anything, before we go on break, it's share your stories and share your good stories. And, one thing that I think we face is we've got this pride. We don't want to be boastful as, North Dakotans. But, I mean, if you're doing good things, share that and encourage others to do the same. You're listening to Super Talks 1270, Free for All Friday. This is Dot Frank with the Bismarck-Mandan Homebuilders Association. We are nearing the end, and I hope you stick with us. Stay tuned. Right now, 50.
The Jim Bohannon Show is here. Super Talk 1270.
Welcome back. This is Dot Frank with the Bismarck-Mandan Home Builders Association. We're down to the final minutes of our Free for All Friday here on Super Talk 1270. Thank you for sticking with us or just tuning in. We've got a wonderful 10 minutes to close out and lots to talk about in that amount of time. Joining me in studio, we've got the Vice President of our association, Shannon Reichenberg with Diversity Homes. Welcome again, Shannon.
Thank you, Dot.
And Scott Meske, the President of the Bismarck-Mandan Chamber of Commerce.
Hey, Dot.
So we've spent some time talking about all sorts of things, right? From Parade of Homes to a shot in the dark golf tournament to why it's important to recognize all the good things that are happening in this community and continue to share that news with others and invest in Bismarck-Mandan and beyond. But one other way to really invest in your community is to invest the time to exercise your right to vote.
Yeah.
So, Scott, you've got a special edition of your newsletter that was just recently published that talks about this upcoming election season. Lots of decisions to be made. And I know we hear all about the presidential camp, right? I mean, you can't turn around without seeing something that relates to either Hillary or Donald. But locally, we've got some very big decisions to make. So can you talk about the importance of getting out to vote and maybe some resources that are made available to individuals to educate themselves prior to making those decisions?
Sure, Dot. So we have our monthly newsletters called the Chamber Connection, and this month is the election edition and voter's guide. And we're not going to tell you which way to vote, this way or that way, or even on the 5 measures that we have. But we do give little snapshots of our candidates and candidates who responded to our inquiry and our survey. So all the way from governor to insurance commission, public service commission, we have 11 or not. We have a lot of statewide races. So take a little bit of time, just familiarize yourself with who's on the ballot. So when you get into that booth, you're not going to go, okay, who told me to vote? No, just take a little bit of time. And then the 5 measures, one of the unique things about North Dakota is the citizens have the ability to, put some governance into place, whether it's through the Constitution or whether it's through statutes. And so there's 5 measures on the ballot. You're seeing some advertising around town and on media, traditional media, social media. Take some time. So I would encourage for anybody who just wants to get familiar with the list is go to nd.gov on the Secretary of State's website and type in your address. It'll show you what your ballot looks like exactly, and even print it out and practice filling in the dots, whatever you do. But so you go in, at least you have some knowledge, you can discuss it. So that's definitely a strong one. And of course, Chamber Connection. You can go to our website, Bismarck-Mandan Chamber, and you can find a link online.
Excellent. And one thing that I think is kind of interesting in the past year or so, our state government has really been touting the fact that voting is easy as pie. And it's become even easier now with the fact that, there's affidavits you can bring with you in order to prove that you are eligible to vote. So there's no excuse not to go out and vote on Election Day. In fact, you can vote now if you want. Early voting polling is an option, as well as absentee ballots. So again, no excuse not to get out and exercise that right to vote. But you bring up a really good point. Find out who is on the ballot, what they stand for. If they stand for the things that you want to see in the leaders for our communities and our state and our country, and then get educated on those measures, because you do hear a lot. And what you hear on TV, on the radio, you see coming through direct mail in your mailbox is a position of one side. And so it's always good to get information from both so you can make an educated decision when it comes to voting. Shannon, what are your thoughts? Not only does it impact you as an individual, but as a business.
Yeah, I think I said during the break that, somehow, some way to find a way to get more people out to vote, get the younger people to get out there and vote. And obviously we were joking about doing it electronically, and
maybe someday.
Yet, but
maybe someday. Yeah, not today, but.
But it's just very important, and to be able to make an educated decision when you vote. So to look at the Chamber Connection, to research the measures and the candidates.
And one thing we talked about is it seems like we have heavy engagement when it comes to the discussion of the election, whether it's discussion and engagement around the candidates or around the issues and measures. But we all talked about there's a difference between discussion and action. And there's a big difference.
And getting out and doing it. I mean, it's it's the basic level of democracy. We're not asking you to do anything else. Your basic level of democracy in this country for 240 years. This is it. And take some time, and your vote does count. It really does. Especially I'm speaking to you young people. I have 3 of them, so I know what it is to try and get through to them that elections are not won on Facebook, and they're not won on Twitter or Instagram or Snapchat you have to go to the ballot box.
Absolutely. And one thing that can be difficult is not knowing where to turn or who to talk to and where the truths lie. But that information is
who do you
available.
believe? Yeah,
because there are, non-biased sources to find information about this. And a good reference, like you made earlier, is going to the Secretary of State's website. So nd.gov/SOS. You can click on vote. You could type in your address. The other thing is, I don't know where to vote. Don't let that be an excuse.
Yeah.
Because you can put in your address and it'll tell you exactly where to go.
And it'll show you what your ballot is going to look like, what's on it. It might be a little long, but you are going to get a chance to see it. And why not take 5 minutes?
Just doesn't drive you there.
It just doesn't get you there, right? Yeah, right.
And the one thing too is, who do I talk to? Whose information is accurate and reflects the best? That's one thing where associations and groups like ours do provide a service. And so, when it comes to screening candidates, taking a look at, the measures that have an impact on how we live and work and play, you can turn to associations and groups of peers. From the Homebuilders perspective, what we look for are candidates who support the housing industry. And we can provide those referrals and recommendations to people in our industry who want to support those with like minds. And I'm sure that the Chamber is in the same position. When you're looking at candidates and you're screening those, what are some of the parameters? What are you hoping for in a candidate and their actions if they're elected?
Well, again, I think we'd like to see candidates that have an understanding of what it takes to create a positive business environment, that we're not going to be, again, these are very, very core tenets here of businesses, that we're not looking to just grow government for the sake of government growth, okay? But, that we're conscious of our tax dollars, very conscious of them, but we'll listen to organizations like ours.
Absolutely. And I think what's so interesting is we've always got that common level of conservatism in our state when it comes to fiscal responsibility. I think it's going to be a little bit tighter this year.
Yeah.
However, the other thing that I think is really important is that as citizens, we communicate the need to continually invest in ourselves and in our state and in the opportunity for continued growth. And that's where, again, we recommend that people turn to their peers. Look to the Homebuilders Association. Look to your industry leaders like the Chamber of Commerce and get that type of feedback and support, and then get active.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to certain recommendations, our National Association of Home Builders is going out for the first time ever and making endorsements of our national leaders. So when it comes to your state elected and your members of Congress, you can turn to NAHB to find out what their recommendations are there. And a lot of it comes down to their voting history. How have they shown in action that they're supportive of our association? So you can turn to NAHB if that's something that interests you. Otherwise, just get out, get educated, talk to your neighbors, family, friends, and kids, and make sure that they get out and they vote. Scott, final words from the Chamber before we say goodbye?
Yeah, just thanks a lot, Dot, for having me on. I appreciate it. Our organizations work very well together. Our members are a lot of times very similar, and we've got a lot of similar goals. So I just appreciate the time this morning.
Well, thank you for coming on. And Shannon, any words?
Look for the holiday home walk coming up November 20th, and make sure you get out and support that.
With that, thank you both for joining us this morning. We will be back in a month. Until then, have fun, stay warm, and stay tuned to Super Talk 1270.